Hello and welcome to the Powerful Personal Brand Podcast, where I and my guests share tips to help and inspire you to build a great personal brand to increase your visibility and authority. I am your host, Claire Bond, and on today's episode, I am so excited to be joined by Mimika Cooney. You work with a lot of women. What are like the common, like maybe 3-5 things that you see happen over and over and over, very common themes?
Yeah. Well, how long do we have, honey? This could be a long day, but I will narrow it down for you.
That's why I said 3 to 5.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you the top ones that recur on a recurring basis. A lot of them is self-sabotage, like was what you're referring to. It's like, I should publish on my website or publish my book, but I'm going to start nitpicking things and start finding holes or finding excuses, because excuses is just a delay tactic for actually getting down to business about what is actually under the hood. That is the problem, because the problem is never the problem. There's always there's a root issue. And what we're dealing with is the symptom. So we want to kind of dig in, and that's what I'm good at, is really pushing people. And that's I'm not everybody's cup of tea, because some people might find like, whoa, I don't want to answer that. Like, why do I need to share that? Then there's a lack of awareness. So, which brings me number 2 is not having awareness of the problem is part of the problem. It's like, you go Alcoholics Anonymous. Part of their strategy is they want you to admit that you're an alcoholic, because unless you come to that realization and say, I have a problem, we cannot move forward. Like, I've had several clients that I've had to say goodbye to, which I just can't work with. I'm like, they're constantly resisting your suggestions. And it's almost like a mini power struggle. Like, they come to you for advice, but then they don't want to show weakness. And then they're trying to pull the power back into their courts. And then they want to feel like they're telling you what to do. And I'm like, listen, I'm not in here to battle you. I'm here to be a mirror and to support you. Let's figure out what the real problem is. So not everybody is ready to do the important work. People want to be in denial. That's cool. Until something happens, and it's usually when the wheels fall off the bus, or some change happens, or they lose money, relationships go sour, business, something has to, it's almost like you have to have a tipping point for them to realize, I cannot do this anymore. Yes, in my case, peel myself off the floor, because I clearly wasn't seeing the signs. And I always have an analogy of this, life is like driving in a car, and we all have different vehicles and we all have different things. But what high achievers tend to do is to keep their foot on the gas, but we don't necessarily see the signs, because we're going at such a fast pace that we don't see the slowdown signs. We don't see the detours. We're kind of like, no, we've got to keep going and going, especially those with that hard hustle mentality. And then eventually what happens is you crash, because, if you go over the speed limit for too long, you're either going to crash or you're going to run out of gas. Doesn't matter how hard you push that car. If there ain't gas, it ain't going anywhere. Even a Ferrari can't go anywhere on no gas. So the whole point, and I have a saying that I love to teach my clients, is we need to go slow to go fast. Like, if your car needs servicing, we need to take it to the shop, into the garage, get under the hood, start to tinker and see what needs to be fixed. And then we can retire it, put new, Pirellis on and get it back on the road, because you're never going to go where you want to go on a patched work. Like, if you imagine those old cars where they're always bits and pieces from things, it's like they're just barely making it down the road. And, it's hard, because not everybody wants to take the time to pause and get the help they need to really fix things up. But what I've known and I've found with my clients is, once they get back on the road and they realize that this is a shift in mindset, self-concept, lifestyle habits, they're on a different path. And then what happens is it speeds up, because just like momentum, like things snowball. It feels slow and it's frustrating to go slow. But it's necessary to slow down in order to speed up. So, and I'd say the third thing, awareness is a big one, self-sabotage or avoiding and denial, and perfectionism, like being hard on yourself. I'm like, girl, give yourself a break. Did you see how well you did? And women essentially are very bad at this. We'll have a list. Okay. Everyone can know they have their list, and they have like 10 things. And then if she doesn't get all 10 done, maybe she got 1 done, she will beat herself up to a pulp and just feel terrible about herself, about all the things she didn't do. And she totally discounts the things she did do. So the whole concept is small wins. You did one thing today. Yay! And in my group program, everyone knows it's hilarious. We have a real hoot. We celebrate even the tiniest things. So even if she never takes care of herself, even if she goes to get her hair done, that is a reason for a party. Because the way the brain works, we need closure. We need to be able to have a sense of accomplishment. And we need to have that sense of resolution. I mean, why do you think we have funerals and weddings and graduations? It's a mental shift to make for the people, like, that old season is done. Now I'm moving into something else. And this is how you know, like, this is an example. So I'm sure many of us who love to watch TV can get in these series. And if you ever notice, it's called, in writing, we call it the open-close concept. And you wonder why people binge on shows. So back in the day when I was a kid, you would have to wait for next week to watch a new program, right? Now you can sit and binge in a few hours and get it all done. But really what's happening in your brain is that if you see the beginning of the show, they open up like some kind of conflict, or the characters have to do something, or there's some unanswered question. You're like, what is that? And you're curious. You want to know, right? And throughout that episode, they'll start to tease things. And then maybe towards like 3/4 of the way, they will come to some kind of resolution. But they don't completely close the loop. They start another loop. So they might resolve the first one, but then they've enticed you for the next one, and they leave you on a cliffhanger. And that's intentional because your brain is seeking closure. Your brain is seeking the old way of, and now they lived happily ever after, the end. Nothing happens like that anymore. We're in a society, they're keeping you plugged in.
No, I mean, sometimes even the shows that you love to watch, they won't, be renewed for another season after they've already ended. And you're like, but I wanted to know what happened.
Exactly. And that's your brain. Your brain is saying, I need it. Like, tell me, what is that? So I think that is a big problem in our modern society. That is, we don't give ourselves closure. We don't celebrate ourselves when we do achieve things. And then what happens is you never switch off. You always feel like you're always running, because literally the Facebooks of the world, the Instagrams are designed to keep us hooked on their platform. They want us. It's designed intentionally to hijack your brain, to hijack your behavior. Because how many of us have sat there scrolling and then an hour later, like, oh my gosh, where'd the last hour go? It's literally hijacked your brain into like, So this is the thing, is if you can become aware of that, you can be in charge of it.